It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like 100 grand.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Wise.
Jeremy Weiss here. We're live at IRCE, and I'm here with Sina, and he is the founder of Duoplane. And I want you to tell people what you do.
Sure. So we run a software platform that connects to merchants' shopping carts to help them manage their distributed fulfillment. So that's merchants who typically don't hold their own inventory. They either drop ship or they work with outside warehouses, 3PLs, in order to fulfill their orders.
So Sina, we were talking a little bit about different use cases for it. What are some of those?
So, I mean, typical use case is a merchant who they might sell a very wide range of products coming from lots of different vendors, or they might have a combination model where they might fulfill some of their items from a warehouse and some from outside vendors, and so they need us to help them route orders, split them up, send them in different formats to different vendors. So that's typical. And then we have a lot of clients also, interestingly enough, who aren't even really e-commerce merchants, but have a e-commerce portion to their business, so they don't want to be at all involved in the fulfillment piece of things. So they have us help them work with their outside partners to help them fulfill their orders.
So a favorite story from someone navigating this process?
Sure. So we work with lots of different types of merchants. I'd say we work with one company in particular that they actually sell dorm furniture, so bedding, accessories, decorations, and things like that. And it's a huge range of products. So, and a lot of them are very niche-y type products. They might sell one or two of per year, and so they use a dropship model to help them really expand their catalog and offer a wide range of products. And then they also have, for their fast-selling products, they have quick ship that they ship out of a third-party warehouse, and so we help them integrate with their warehouse, and then we help them integrate with their with all their dropship suppliers. But it's just really interesting because the wide range of things they sell, and they can change, their makeup of their merchandise very, very quickly because they are using this distributed model.
You probably see, since you touch a lot of different e-commerce businesses, I'd love for you to talk about some of the mistakes you see people making.
Sure. Interesting. So I'd say probably one of the mistakes I see, because we're also often involved in kind of the replatforming stages of companies when they're choosing new platforms. I think overthinking things tend to be something that we see companies do, especially when they're moving from like a legacy homegrown system to maybe to an off-the-shelf like hosted solution. Everything now can be prototyped quickly, where you can really sort of test things out and try a lot of different solutions and plug different pieces to each other. And so my piece of advice for anyone doing that is just experiment and try and prototype, and don't overthink things and come up with like a big a big requirements list. So that's definitely one thing that I've seen. But in general, get out there, try things. Don't especially for the aspiring entrepreneur, don't overthink whether it's going to work or whether you should get into it. Just do it and experiment and repeat, rinse and repeat type thing.
People always like to hear of different softwares and platforms. What are some of the ones that you have found are most popular among your customers?
So definitely the big names that you often hear, Shopify, BigCommerce, Magento, are the platforms that we tend to work the most with. They're the easiest to get started with, and they are robust and scalable, and so those are definitely the platforms that we see. And certainly for anyone kind of considering getting into e-commerce or replatforming, I never would suggest writing your own shopping cart. I actually still see that. Really? That I would add that to the mistakes that people bringing their sort of old IT with them. But yeah, definitely the Shopify, BigCommerce, Magento are sort of the the main ones that we see. I mean, nothing against the other ones. We just haven't seen as much traffic on the other platforms.
And what about other softwares or apps that they're using?
I don't have as much visibility into those, to be totally honest with you, in terms of the marketing, marketing apps and things like that.
What do you guys use internally?
Internally, well, I mean, we use things. I mean, we use, Zendesk for our, help desk. We use. I'm trying to think what else we use. I actually don't know all. We do use Slack internally, yes. I mean, I love Slack. Everyone loves Slack. We use Uber Conference for our, conferencing. We do a lot of demos, a lot of conferences. That's been one of our favorites.
So, how did you get started in this?
So I used to actually run an e-commerce retailer. I co-founded a company in the modern furniture space back in 2003. And our entire model there was drop shipping. So we sold.
You don't want to hold a ton of inventory of huge furniture.
Right. And so part of it was furniture, but part of it also was we were selling sort of modern accessories from lots of independent designers. So the kind of stuff you might see in a boutique in New York or LA, we were trying to make available to kind of more of a mass market. And those were very long tail type things where we might sell one or two of them over the course of a year. So we had developed some processes, and I don't think a lot of people even used the term drop shipping back then, but we sort of had a lot of relationships and shipped things directly. And so this company actually came directly out of that. So I kind of got stuck, I guess, with all the back end operations part of things while
someone makes a sale and then all the hamsters are running in the background to make it happen.
Yeah, and so we developed all this software and processes for that, and so that's actually, and I learned to code through that whole process and kind of learned all the best practices around fulfillment, and so we sold that company in 2011, and so founded Duoplane shortly after that.
So why furniture?
For that originally come?
Yeah.
So I'm an engineer by background, sort of product design.
So it makes even less sense. No, I'm just
we wanted to actually make furniture. We actually got into the world of, we wanted to sort of build basically a higher level IKEA. It took us probably a few months to realize that would have been a horrible business, and we would have been stuck with containers. I mean, we saw so many companies get into that and not do that well. But we also met a lot of companies who needed distribution, and so we almost by accident fell into being a retailer, because we said, hey, we can start selling all this stuff that these companies were meeting, and that's actually how we got into it. We originally wanted to be the designer, but we thought there was more opportunity in being kind of a distributor retailer.
Yeah. So, what's some of the challenges of Duoplane?
As a company?
Yeah.
Well, probably the biggest thing is I bootstrap the company. So that is, I'd say, slowed growth, but I very much did that kind of on purpose. Yeah. So I've got the benefit of kind of slower growth, but I think struggling a little bit to kind of the vision is much bigger than what we can do at any one point. And so right now I'm definitely trying to hire, build the team, build more of kind of that management layer that I couldn't build on day one. But that's probably the biggest thing is sort of right now building kind of the internals, and I'm in the Bay Area where everything is expensive, real estate's expensive, people are expensive, so that's been definitely a challenge. But I am actually building the company remotely, so trying to keep it. Keep those challenges at bay a little bit by taking advantage of all the talent that's sort of around the country, around the world.
So who should be using Duoplane that isn't?
Well, really, anyone.
Someone at IRC right now?
Yeah, I mean, all these people. No, I mean, basically, it's anyone. So right now, the typical customer are people who are drop shipping or integrating with a 3PL, third-party warehouse. And so that's kind of who we're working with right now, are people who already know that they need the product. I mean, I personally am a big fan of everyone, kind of all retailers shedding their inventory and at least working, with professional warehouses and 3PLs. And so I think eventually the whole world will sort of go toward, the merchant being a marketing merchandising machine, and all the back-end processes being handled by people who are more expert in that. And so that's our thesis, at least, is that that's where retail is going.
What about mistakes in logistics, right? What are you seeing? Because you mentioned something that people shouldn't be warehousing their own stuff.
Yeah.
What are you seeing on that front?
I think trying to do it yourself is a mistake and can become a horror story. I even look back in our own experience at my old company. We started warehousing things by accident because we would get returns back, and they first showed up in my apartment, and then we actually rented an office, expensive office space in San Francisco to warehouse the stuff, and so eventually we did move it to a 3PL in Virginia, but the nightmare of actually managing it yourself can be really overwhelming, even at a small scale. So I think that that's difficult, and there are also nightmares, frankly, when you do even outsource it, working with the wrong 3PL, someone who doesn't want to take on the type of product you're selling, or doesn't want to deal with the returns, or you need gift packaging, and they say they can do it, but they've never really done it before. So I think really vetting your 3PL if you're going to outsource it, or with a dropshipper, really vetting that they've done this before and they can actually provide that high level of service to your end customer is really important.
So what are some of the best practices if someone's looking for a good 3PL?
So certainly someone who can integrate with you seamlessly. I mean, you're going to need the outside company, whether it's a dropshipper or a 3PL, to essentially be part of your system. So you need to have full visibility in the inventory. You need to have full visibility into where your orders are, making sure they ship out immediately. And so those are things you can maybe ask early on, but I'd say in the spirit of prototyping, send a few test packages through them, make sure that everything, arrives exactly in a timely manner. You have full visibility into where the order is at any point. So that's definitely one thing is sort of systems integration and visibility. And I think the other thing is just making sure that they have that end customer focus. Again, a lot of times the dropship vendors and the 3PLs, they're very ops focused, and they don't necessarily think about, what is that end customer either unboxing going to feel like, or if something's damaged, how fast we can get it fixed. And so I think making sure they have that same level of understanding that it's a mutual end customer is really important. That's just more of a philosophical thing to kind of, vet with them.
What's been a proud moment for you in the journey? You've been at this e-commerce thing for a while.
Yeah. Certainly, founding Duoplane and actually seeing it work has been gratifying. I think every time I get on a call with a customer, I meet a customer, and they express, gratitude that either they wouldn't be in business if it weren't for Duoplane, or we make their life so much easier. That's proud. It's not always the CEO. Sometimes it's the operations manager that used to do things by hand, and he or she tells us that, their life is completely different, that they are now doing sort of higher level things that they enjoy doing. And I think that's always a proud moment, is knowing that we're helping someone kind of get away from the mundane and reduce their mistakes and just make them, help them do their job better. We hear that a lot, and it's always gratifying to hear.
Are there cases where they don't realize there is a solution, that they're doing it manually, or do most people know there is something out there that will help them?
No, I think awareness is, you mentioned one of our challenges. Awareness is definitely a challenge. I think there are a lot of our clients actually have told us, like, where were you guys? We looked for you and we couldn't find you. So, so I think there are a lot of people who don't realize there are solutions for this, and they are doing it manually, or they're building their own processes, and so we are definitely trying to build awareness, especially with partners who are kind of helping to create these solutions. But yeah, there's a lot of people out there who are just doing things by hand and don't realize there's a better way of managing their back end.
Well, thanks for sharing some of that. Where can people find you online? Where should we point them towards?
So Duoplane.com is our website, and more than happy to answer any questions. If there's a contact form, we always get back to people very quickly, so more than happy to answer any questions.
Awesome. Thanks. Live from IRC.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I'm feeling like $100 grand.